It's kind of like when I returned back home. This is one of those few places that still stands, and it's exactly as it was as far back as I can remember. At age, when I was 2, it was like this. And now I'm 22, and it's the same way. We're going to have to say goodbye to it.
Jack's main mission throughout all this has been to keep the house intact. Some wanted to come in and paint all the colors and to white, and whatnot. And I'm glad we were able to keep this house exactly the way Nancy wanted it. So I told Jack that Nancy had a form of cancer due to rheumatoid arthritis. And I knew I couldn't tell the exact thing she had because he would look it up on the internet and it looks bad on the internet. And then, of course, by the time it was diagnosed, multiple myeloma has a lifespan, 3 years up. Whereas plasma cell leukemia, we just found out, literally 10 days before she died. That's so bad that I didn't even want to look at it in the internet.
Now these, we're finding all sorts of awards around the house. It's one of the awards she won while she was at UT Office of Public Affairs.
Yes.
There's so many of these that, it's hard to know what to do with everything while you're finding it. But
Landon. You look at those. You look at those awards over there, and she'd say, "Oh, I got something," and I don't know how I pulled it out of her, but I got it out of her. And then I'd say, "Well, are you going to go?" "Oh, I guess." Or no, I'm not going to go to Santa Fe to pick up my latest award or Denver. She wouldn't go. I don't know what was.
the work meant more to her maybe than the accolades and that sort of thing, maybe? Or...
Yeah.
And then if you pan up, you got just a sampling of her pens. She made these pens forever, and they sold everywhere. Nancy Neff, Austin, they sold in stores all over Austin. And at her funeral, we had baskets of them, and they were given out to everyone. Everyone left with at least one pen, and there are boxes of them. They're all over. They're very popular.
So she just loved this, and I don't remember when it started, but then she started selling her pens at various places, and her logo or her little signature thing was this Into Designs, like Into Nancy Neff. Anyway, the pens look like these. Then it came for all holidays, spring, here's Christmas, Valentine's Day, 4th of July. And we talked earlier about the purses she made. And this was her 4th of July and watermelon one. She was quite an artist. So here's Halloween. She made one for every season. See how cute they are? She made them. She would buy the boxes at Michael's, and she really would pick them out carefully because it was easy to get ones that were beat up. And if you look in there, she's got Easter, Halloween, she's got all the different seasons. And she just did it for fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I didn't know that.
I thought that was such a wonderful thing that Lynn said when she first stood up, because Lynn knew her as a professional. And she said, what this room doesn't know about Nancy, because she never told us a thing. She said, but Nancy was a major talent. I'll never forget that phrase.
Yes, that was everybody found that to be so interesting because she never bragged.
Right, and then you read about the people that she hung out with, and Liz
Carpenter
and Hillary Clinton, and backstage, and all of those huge, big events they would have at the Liz Carpenter lecture series.
Absolutely.
Nancy was behind the scenes making it all happen.
She didn't hang them all over her walls
she wouldn't.
She hit them.
She did. There wasn't a bragging bone in her body. Hardly even an acceptance of her accomplishments, I think.
But Susan, what were some of the things you had to say at the funeral?
I talked about how much fun we used to have at the Neff's house on Wathen. We're always fighting and slamming doors, and it was just like everybody else's house. And that they had Doris Day and Bob Newhart as their parents. That was Sally. Sally came up with the Bob Newhart. Sally came up with Bob Newhart, and it was a good. And we used to hang out at the pool. And Nancy had this record player that was state of the art, battery operated. It sounds so geek now, but she kept this record. Do you remember it? Out at the pool, and she had the 13-minute version of Light My Fire, and it was just over and over, and we just hung out. We got melanomas, I'm sure, and had a lot of fun.
To me, the whole place just kind of has a lot of history, household history kind of embedded in it. And, you know, to me it seems like there's so little left in general in terms of what's been preserved that you wish you could just keep the house as it is. That's how I feel. I wish, you know, there was some sort of financial or practical way to say, hey, let's just keep the house as it is. No one will touch it. You know, it can always stand as a living testament, as a living monument. You know, I guess if I could say anything to Nancy, it's that, you know, I've tried my best to keep the spirit of the house alive. And, you know, I'd like to tell you that we're going to be able to save every one of the pictures, every one of the wards, every one of the discs, the paintings. But, you know, it's not true. You know, I wish we could keep every one of those things and that they would help keep you alive.